Why do you care so much? It's just a dog. I've heard that phrase more times than I can count. And maybe you have too. Maybe you've also felt that sting when someone dismisses your concern or your love or your grief over a dog. Well, this is just a dog podcast. And I am your host, Nadine. 3 years ago, my dad passed away unexpectedly. One moment he was here and the next he wasn't. It was sudden, devastating, the kind of loss that rearranges everything you thought you knew about the world. My dad's girlfriend at the time had a dog named Lola. And Lola is a black cockapoo with a beautiful, gentle soul. She was my dad's companion, his buddy, and they were incredibly close. Whenever I called him, Lola was with him. They were either heading out for walks in the woods along a river, or he was feeding her something at home. But on the 15th of May 2022, my dad's heart failed. It was Lola who found him. She stayed by his side until help arrived. First it was the ambulance, and then the coroner, and then the terrible finality of it all. About a month later, we held a memorial for my dad. I helped Lola get into his car, and she climbed into the passenger footwell, that small space where my dad would put her when they were heading somewhere on an adventure. I left her there with the door open so she could get out whenever she wanted to. But hours later, when I realized I hadn't seen her, I went to check on her and discovered she was still there. She hadn't moved for hours. It turns out she didn't just stay there that day, she mourned for months. Her guardian said she wasn't herself for a long time. So, processing my own grief and simultaneously witnessing hers felt really raw and honest. And something clicked in me. Lola wasn't an accessory in my dad's life. She had her own relationship with him, which meant this wasn't just a dog missing her human friend or her walks or treats. This was a sentient being experiencing profound loss. Someone from another species who loved my dad and understood that he was gone and was processing that absence in the only way that she knew how. Up until that point, I had never before expected a dog to be able to grieve. Just a dog, right? It seems really obvious to me now, and to be honest, I feel a bit embarrassed to admit this out loud, but it was that realization that I'd been so fundamentally wrong about something so basic that recalibrated everything. Because if I was so wrong about dogs grieving, what else was I wrong about? What other beliefs did I inherit that I never questioned before? That question has led me down a million different rabbit holes, which I'm still exploring. Because every time I go down one hole, I learn about another. I learn about dogs, and I learn about humans, and the massive disconnect between what we say, what we do, and what we believe. The language we use. The more I learned, the more uncomfortable I became, and the more I felt other people should know about this too. And that led me to showing up in places like Parliament, the Greyhound racetrack, rescue and rehoming centres, and even walking along the seafront and in parks to talk to people about their dogs. So this podcast is guided by my own curiosity. I'm not looking for dog training tips. I'm looking for perspective shifts. Those moments that fundamentally change how we see things. I want to speak to people with varying beliefs and opposing views and really try and understand their experiences. I'll be talking to breeders and trainers, dog welfare advocates, artists, psychologists, professors, behaviorists, people who work with dogs, compete with dogs, profit from dogs, and of course, everyday dog guardians. We'll delve into questions like, what does our relationship with dogs reveal about who we are as humans? How do cultural differences shape the way that we see and treat dogs? What happens when love isn't enough? And why do we struggle so much to understand each other across species lines? What are the systems that help or harm dogs, and how do we change them? And what comes up for us as humans when life gets tough and we're faced with impossible circumstances or choices? I'm curious about all of it, because much of what I know might be false or incomplete. And I want to continue discovering and learning, because here's what Lola's grief taught me. Dogs aren't here to serve our emotional needs or be extensions of our identity. They're living their own lives, having their own experiences, and carrying their own stories. And when you really see that, when you see them as the individuals that they are rather than the roles that we've assigned to them, then everything changes. Because ultimately this is about how we treat the most vulnerable in society. And often the systems that fail dogs are the same systems that fail us as human beings. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being willing to see dogs and maybe yourself a little bit differently. New episodes drop every Thursday, so I'll see you in the next one, where I speak with Dr. Tara Quinn, psychologist, author, and founder of the Human Animal Welfare Alliance. Have a good week, and remember, they are never just a dog.